My first talk is about RAGBRAI. And, okay, so RAGBRAI stands for the Registers. Think of the Des Moines Register, it's a newspaper like the Blade, say. The Register's annual Great Bike Ride Across Iowa. And it is, they started in 1973. A few of the reporters at the Des Moines Register said, hey, what if we just biked across our state? And everybody said, yeah, right. And they did it, and it's just grown every year. It's a big deal in Iowa. It's the largest organized bike ride in the United States. I heard about it when I was working at UT, and I had students that just came back like converts to Christianity, and they were like, oh my God, you gotta do this thing. And I'm like, but it takes three things to do RAGBRAI. It's a three-legged stool, if you will, and it takes time. It's a week-long event. It takes money. It's not free. You have to get there and do it and stuff. And you have to have a body. Now, don't look at me like that, but you know, you have to be able to physically do it. I guess you also have to have the desire. But for many years, I had the body. Again, I'm not bragging or anything, but and the money. I didn't have the time. I retired, and I said, "Hey, what was that thing called?" And I Googled it, and I found it, and I did it in 21 and in 23. So this is about the 2023 experience. So what I do is, let's see if I can do this. So I just, I live here, and I drove to the ending town, because it's from the Missouri to the Mississippi every year. Those are the two rivers that define Iowa, right? You might think like what defines Ohio is like Lake Erie and the Ohio River, right? So out there it's these two rivers, and they always start at the Missouri River and pedal to the Mississippi. So what I do is I drive from Toledo to the ending town. Now, last year it happened to be Davenport, but every year it's different. They have a different route every year. And so that's my car. I drove to Davenport. All my slides here are montages. There are several photos put together, and I'll try to point them out. Then what you do is you load up your bike. You can't see this well, but those are bikes hanging in that truck there. You load your bike, and then you get yourself and your bag, up to 50 pounds, onto a bus, and you take this. It takes about 6 hours to go to the beginning town, right? And then you basically cycle back to your car. So, when it gets tough, I have a big incentive because I've got to get back to my car. So, let's see. So, yeah, so you'll see a lot of people every day putting up their tents and sleeping. This is the tradition. You dip your back wheel into the Missouri, and then when you get to the Mississippi, you dip your front tire. It's a stupid, it's just a thing. A lot of people form a group, and they'll come in these buses. You'll see a lot of these, maybe like even a couple hundred of buses like that. And the bikes are on the top, and the people are inside. And this is a real classic RAGBRAI scene. And I have several passions in my life. One of them is cycling, one's photography. So what I do is I take a lot of photos, much to my wife's chagrin, maybe. Sue, love you. I will take a lot of photos while cycling. And this is a classic RAGBRAI scene. You're just going along. You try to get up in the morning and get as many miles in before it gets ridiculously hot, because it's always the last full week of July. Last year was particularly hot, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. And you pass a lot of really beautiful scenery like rivers and stuff. So, and did I mention that last year they had over 25,000 riders? You don't have to do the whole thing, and that's a really good point. In fact, my buddy Jeff, who you'll see a photo of later, he's still working. I'm retired. I can do a week now. It's so awesome. But so he worked Monday, Tuesday, and then half of Wednesday. Then he drove out to Davenport one way with his vehicle with his bike in it, and then he turned in his bike, rode over to me, and then he did Thursday, Friday, and Saturday with me. So he did half of it. And there are many like day riders. You know, people will do it for a day. This is just a classic RAGBRAI scene. You have the local fire department that put out the flag. You have the officer. The route of RAGBRAI is announced every January for the following July. And once that route is announced, the State Highway Patrol and all the local municipal police departments go into action, and it's a cordoned off thing. So, you know, I'm not going to say there's no cars on RAGBRAI, but there's almost no cars because it's a blocked off thing. So you see the officer here, you know, and that's just a classic RAGBRAI scene. So every year they give you a map. This was day one of last year's on Sunday, and we did 72 miles. That's kind of average. It can go up to the 90s and it can go down to the 50s, but I'd say 70s is a typical day. And the Washita there, or Washita, that was the lunch stop. And that's significant for riders because that's the one stop during the day where if you have, you know, your spouse or your team or your kids or your, you know, people that want to see you, they can see you at that place. The rest of these, like I said, it's pretty cordoned off, right? So it's a very well organized thing. You can see here, and each day will have a theme. This was the Mile of Silence and Throwback Jersey Day. One of the days will be like College Jersey Day and things like that. So it's really fun. It's just a big party on wheels for 7 days, and that's why I go back, and that's why I'm going back this year. Let's see. Okay, so hydrate. I think I hit it twice. Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. You hear that all the time. People are giving you water. They're selling you water cheap, usually $1 a thing. I included this because we went into this town of Maumee, Iowa, which was back in the 1800s. They had a few of these around the country. They were kind of like I forget the word now. Communities set up to be like heaven, you know, kind of like model communities or something. And then Maumee, Iowa was one of them. And they make their own pop there. So this was made right there in Maumee. Anyway, it's a rural state. So you're going to see a lot of this kind of thing. It was very hot, so this was a water point where people could fill up their water bottles and stuff. And this was just a typical, you know, come to a small town scene. And when the route is announced, so RAGBRAI has like 10 full-time employees, year-round, benefits, everything. And they work on these routes years in advance. And these little towns all vie. They all want RAGBRAI to come to them because they're going to make a lot of money. You're going to have 10, 15, 20,000 people come through on one day. So you can sell a lot of hot dogs. You know, you can sell your 4-H group will get enough money for 10 years. You know, hey, you know what I'm saying? It's a big deal. So anyway, oh, not that one, this one. So Iowa. So if it was cute, you know, with the dog on it, you know, it's an intergenerational event. You will see everything from 5th graders up to 90-year-olds. And I mean everything in between. It skews about 55% male, 45% female in my real crude estimation. But I would say the biggest demographic would be your 20s and 30s. And a lot of professional athletes do it. Like Olympic, you'll see, you know, like Olympic cycling teams will do it. People that do the Tour de France will do it. It is an international event. You will see people from maybe up to 50 different countries. You will hear German. You will hear, you know what I mean, different, you know, because teams will come and do this. So Iowa, you know, and it is the #1 corn-producing state in the nation by far, hands down. No one's even close. So you see a lot of corn, a lot of corn. My wife's saying, wrap it up. Okay. So heat index table, Missouri watershed. This was cute because it shows how big these tractors are compared to bicycles. Just a typical scene. Nobody locks their bikes. It's just that environment. Okay. That was my bike there and my bag, so I'm getting ready to set up for the night unicyclist. I thought that was cute. That is about a 12-year-old, by the way. There. Classic scene, a lot of wind turbines, little towns with post office and so forth. This is the state highway patrol or something like that telling us to turn. You can see the patrolman there, maybe in the green there. And that's me. And one big, and there's a lot of vendors. They get real clever with their ads and stuff. It's just one big rolling party. By the way, which U.S. president came from Iowa? Real quick, who knows? Herbert Hoover. So not a lot of super famous people come from Iowa, but like Ashton Kutcher. There's a few. Pie is a big deal. It's become over the years this huge deal. So all the churches and groups will make their pie. This is a line for something I don't really remember, but I did show this guy because there is a lot of really top athletes that do RAGBRAI. It's kind of on that circuit. It's on that level. Every now and then you see everybody's walking their bikes. I think there was an accident up ahead, and there are accidents. And, things happen. You're riding in a group, which is, it takes a little bit of getting used to that. And the saying is ride right, R-A-G-H-T, which means literally to the right, but also correctly. And, but people do crash, and then you'll see an ambulance go by and stuff. So I think we were waiting on an ambulance right then. It was super hot. This was a water point where they said, this was not the main shower thing. That's in trailers, like big semi-truck trailers. But, you give people a chance to cool off and they're going to do it. It's not flat, but it is hot. I did do some free advertising for Wurzel's. Jill gave me that shirt and I said, I will absolutely wear that one day. And these stores are where, you would stop. And sometimes these stores will have a line in it. They have all the way around, because, they got a couple hundred people in there, but it's all fun, and everybody's patient. Everybody's good natured about it. This was cute because we went through the Ohio State. Excuse me, I do that all the time. The Iowa State. It's funny. There's this thing with Iowa and Ohio, because it's all vowels and 4 letters. It's hilarious. But anyway, these were the cheerleaders, and we were going through their campus, so it was a big deal for them to have us come through. And you'll see all kinds of things like trailers. That's my buddy Jeff. He came out for the second half of it. And then we met Jacob there, the kid in the right. He's a college student, and he was a day rider. He says, hey, can I ride with you guys? And that's just how friendly it is. And we're like, sure. So we kind of adopted him for the day. He's just a charming young man. And then we stopped, and I said, hey, can I get a picture of the flag? And they're like, sure. So they thought that was funny that I would want to do that. And that's the Iowa flag and me. And it is a very nice state. I mean, I'm serious. You hear that, Midwest nice and stuff like that. They really are very nice people there. And I mean, it almost sounds like a cliche, but it's really true. There's a map of the state. So, and people, this is from Big Grove Beer. Beer is very big there, and it's big everywhere now. So, but they will really, anyway, it's just big. So this is another just classic scene. You have to just get used to riding in a big group, and just take it slow. About half the people that do RAGBRAI are from Iowa, and about half are from everywhere else. There's a lot of bike repair places along the way. You will absolutely never be stranded. Okay? Now you tell me an event where 25,000 people are going to go, and I can guarantee you will not be stranded, and this is one of them. The Air Force Academy sends about 200 cadets every year, and they are kind of like our AAA. And they're always riding around. They've got repair gear with them, and they're always asking you, are you okay? Are you okay? And they're looking at you too to see if you're like starting to freak out with the heat and stuff like that. So there are kind of guardian angels, and they're just delightful young people too. And this was a breakfast stop. They had banana crunch wraps, and I said to them, I said, hey, can I take your picture? And they go, sure, you know. But that's just Iowa right there. If I could just have one photo that just summarized it all. They're just so glad you're here, and they're happy people. So now we were done, and they're getting ready to go home. They're loading their bikes on the top, and the people will get it's Team Black Betty. So the team names get real clever. And then that's the Mississippi. That's Jeff and I. We made it. Another RAGBRAI in the books. So that was last year's RAGBRAI. Any questions? I mean, I would really encourage you to do it if you are interested.
How do they handle food? Do they provide any food, like breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or snacks?
So, about a third of the people that do RAGBRAI go with a tour group, and they make your meals for you. Everybody else, you're kind of on your own. I hate to say that, but there's so many places to eat. Like when you start getting into the town, the ending town for that day, you're going to start seeing like these little billboards, like, oh, come to the VFW, come to the Eagles Lodge, come to this church, we're having spaghetti dinner for $10 and stuff like that. And many of the host towns will have bus service that take you to those places and back. So yeah, food is never a problem. You're going to gain weight on that.
Luggage and tents are schlepped to the
Yes. So registration is about $200. And what that gets you is that service. It's a supported ride. So it gets you a lot of things. It gets you the SAG. You know, there are SAGs that patrol. Make sure you're okay. But every day you can put a bag up to 50 pounds and in the truck, and then they'll haul it to the next place. So you don't have to worry about it. You just have to ride there. And then you get your bag and set up your... I do it the traditional way where, you know, I just have a tent and a sleeping bag and I set up my little campsite every day. Some people go with the tours where they'll put up the tents for you and everything. But that's a lot more expensive to do that.
What about elevation change?
Yeah. Well, every year it's a different route. So this coming year, they just announced the route, you know, in January, and it's less miles but more elevation. So it's going to be this is just my opinion. This next thing I'm saying is the shame at RAGBRAI is when you have to walk your bike. I mean, to me that's like, oh, hold your head down, you know. And last year, self-imposed. Last year I had to walk my bike 3 times. And it's like, you know, these hills. I mean, you know, sometimes people think Iowa's flat. No, it's not flat. So the more modern bikes have higher gear ratios where you got a really low. And mine is an older bike that doesn't. It's an old 10-speed from the 80s. And my lowest low is not that low. So anyway. So there is significant elevation changes, both going up and going down. And I've been on some downhills where I swear to God I'm going 40 miles an hour. You know what I mean? So you're doing 40 miles an hour in a group. You got to be careful. So you got to have your bike looked at by a good technician beforehand, because when during the race, not the race, it's a ride, not a race. During the ride, you don't have time to do that stuff. You know what I mean? You have to know that your brakes are good and so forth. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Are you saying that when you talk about going with the tour, are you saying that there are different operators, or are you saying
yes.
RAGBRAI?
Oh no, different operators. And one of the biggest ones is Pork Belly Ventures. And actually, I use them only to get me from the ending town to the beginning town, because they run a shuttle, you know, from with my bag and bike and me. Boom, over to the beginning town. But there's others, and they will put up your tent for you, cook your meals, you know, charge up your phone at night. That's actually one of the things that I'm always looking for is I got to find power somewhere to charge up my phone.
So you didn't have any pictures of the day where everybody dresses something after?
I didn't. No, I mean I do, but you're only seeing, you know, 10% or less of my photos. But yeah. The photos get, or the costumes get really innovative, you know, but it's a lot of fun. I would really encourage you. Yes.
I just wanted you to tell them about the vegetarian.
So I'm a vegetarian. Actually, I eat fish, so I'm a pescatarian. And out there, it's all pork and beef, and you know, it's all meat and potatoes, you know. And so I went to this one dinner. It was at an Eagles Lodge, and I got up to it was like SOS, you know, shit on a chin, right? It was chipped beef, I think they would call it, actually. And I asked the guy, and these are all volunteers, you know, this is some fraternal organization, they're just, you know, and I asked this guy, do you have a vegetarian option? And the look on his face, do you know how dogs look sometimes when they kind of like, they just can't figure out what you asked. And I got him. I mean, he just, wow, he just stopped and would go, I wish to God I had a camera to get that. But, you know, and of course they didn't. And so that day I ate what I ate, you know, because I needed to eat. So that was fine. But it is a very meat and potatoes type place. Yes.
Thank you for emphasizing pies in Iowa. I think pie is eaten at every meal. The truck stops have extra stockpiles of it.
Yeah. Are you from Iowa?
Iowa?
Iowa? Yeah. Okay. So that's a reference to the Music Man, the musical that's set in Iowa. It's charming. Yeah, pie is a big deal. So, all right, we're going to move on. So, another adventure I did. This is, you know, Maumee Valley Adventurers, right? So, another adventure I did last year, 2023, was I have a good friend that lives in Brooklyn, and I go back. I go to the city at least once a year, and I love New York City. And I would really like to stress to you at the outset here that New York City is your city too. It is our national city. And whether you've been there or not, whether you like it or not, you know, it's our history. And there's so much great architecture there and history and everything. So you're an instructor traveler, that's neat. So I want this small bit. This is just a small bit of Manhattan, Brooklyn, and Staten Island. So what I'd like to show you the Manhattan part of it, which is what a lot of people think New York is all about Manhattan, which it's one of 5 boroughs. Okay, so, but one of the cool things that they've done in Manhattan in the last 20 years, so I don't know if you've been there or not, but they've created this park called the High Line. The High Line. And it's an old elevated railway, goes about 2 miles. There was a time in Manhattan when there was a lot of manufacturing in Manhattan. It's almost hard to imagine now because it's all gone, long gone. And this was infrastructure that was going to get tore down. And in the 70s, I think it started, these 2 guys had this idea that, no, we got to save this. This could be something. And long story short, they were successful, and it's one of the top tourist destinations in New York City today. So, but this is the Javits Center. This is at, I think it's 43rd Street and about 11th Avenue. And it is a big convention center named after former Senator Jacob Javits. And many times I would go by it because that's where we used to get the megabus to come back home to Toledo. The megabus doesn't run to Toledo anymore, but it still runs. So they still are out there. And I'd see this big monstrosity, but I never had gone in. So this day, it was in September of last year, it was open, and they had a big coterie was the convention there. And anyway, if you like that kind of architecture, it's just so stunning. I would really recommend just going into it if you can. This is a little scale model of it. And then right outside, you can rent the city bike in New York 1,000 places, right? And return them to others. So it's a great, New York City is a great cycling city, and it's a great walking city. And so this is a Manhattan Javits Center to the High Line. Okay, so the High Line it's a city park, okay, so it's elevated. So this shows you I'm going up to get onto it, right? It's not at street level. Here's all the rules and stuff, you know. So the cool thing about the High Line is that you are up. You're up above traffic and above everything. So this is a classic High Line scene. This is from the north going south. That's the Hudson River right there. That's New Jersey. You know, and there's a helicopter. But so you know, and then there's this huge rail yard here where they repair the subway cars. And you know, never forget that the subway is a railroad. So you know, it's got rolling stock that needs to be repaired and stored and everything. So you walk by that. And then here's a classic High Line scene. Here's a little map of it. So it starts at about 43rd Street, goes down to about, I think it's about 16th Street. And great views of the Hudson. You know, you're going past the Chelsea neighborhood. New York City is a city of neighborhoods. So, you know, you tell people I'm living in Chelsea. That's about halfway down there on that map. Well, these are just scenes from the High Line. You know, you're above the traffic. I believe that's looking north, because there's places where it goes east and west. And along it, they've really created a lot of really calm spaces, a lot of greenery, a lot of plants, and it's just you'll hear all kinds of foreign languages, because it's, like I said, it's a real top destination. I would really recommend that you do this. It's free. You can do as little or as much as you like. And it's a linear park, so you know, they celebrate and preserve a lot of the railroad, you know, infrastructure, if you will. So these are actual rails that used to have trains going on. Like I said, young and old. It's you're likely to see, you know, some cool buildings, some cool architecture. One of the interesting things, there's been studies done on this, and property values near the High Line went way up after it was built. And there was some fear, you know, oh, we're going to get, you know, crime and things and whatever, and just the opposite's happening. So this is a classic scene here. You know, you see, you know, all the greenery and stuff. So I love this one because, you know, you don't want to be down there. You know, you don't want to be in that traffic. Yeah, they're all waiting on a light, and you're just like, nah-di-da, you know. And so, and there's a lot of artwork along the way. So this is two different pictures. This one on the right, this is a building, you know, with all kinds of New York kind of imagery. And then this is some kind of you know, art is very personal. You know, it doesn't do much for me, but might for you. But there's they rotate the art that's out there. And it's a park, so they have a mandate to educate as well as entertain, if you will. And so there's a lot of displays about what you're seeing, right? And so this one was about the elderberry tree and stuff. So, you know, but here, I like this here. It says, keep it wild, you know, celebrate native plants. And you do get lost up in there. What I mean is, you can get lost in the greenery. You know what I mean? Like it really does transport you. And you can see here, you know, like there's a lot of greenery. And just some cool buildings, you know, and some old buildings. And that's the classic New York City, is the new next to the old. You know, I'm not saying that there's no zoning. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that, you know, this building here probably goes back to about the Civil War. You know, I mean, I don't know, but I mean, it looks that way. And remember, New York City was a vibrant city during the American Civil War, which was, what, 150-something years ago. So, just a lot of people out, places to eat. This was a sunny day. This was a beautiful September sunny day. People are out eating. This is, I mean, I'm right on the High Line when I took this picture. So, you know, in 1999, that's the history of it. It was basically these two guys that spearheaded it. And then they petitioned their government, and people thought it was a good idea. They got state money, they got local money, and and it's just really popular. Like I said, they preserved a lot of the infrastructure. So yeah, right here you're walking kind of underneath a trestle. There's another photo, just looking out at the Hudson again. And here they're selling something. You know, there are some vendors on it as well. So that was the High Line. I would recommend it. Any questions on that? Okay. Seeing none, we'll go on to the Brooklyn adventure. So I was staying with my friend near Prospect Park in Brooklyn. Chad and Phoebe have lived there 6 years, maybe 7 at the most. And we, you know, sometimes my son and I will go and visit and stay there with them. And this day, I just walked, that's their street. So it's all what they call brownstones. And these were built, you know, after the Civil War to about the turn of the 20th century. And they're just charming, and they're storied and historic and lovely and very expensive. But they're fun to look at. And so this is I'm an armchair anthropologist. I like to just see how people do things differently or the same. And you know, the thing with living in New York City is space, right? You know, a lot less space. Like my friends that I visit, I don't think they have 1,000 square feet, you know. And 2 people, you know, it's a shotgun apartment. It's just boom from the front to the back, and you know, 2 bedrooms, kitchen in the back, bathroom, and a front living room. They love it. They don't have any kids. Okay, they do have some pets, but you know, it's just like if you're going to have a motorcycle, where are you going to put it? You know, so this person put it right behind the trash cans. This is a really important sign if you live there, if you have a car, and many people in New York do not have a car, but you have to mind these signs because they will sweep the streets once a week. It has nothing to do with sweeping the streets. It has everything to do with parking tickets. $1 million industry. So you have to move your car. In this case, it says from Monday from, I think it says 11:30 to 1, you got to have your car moved. So it's a big reason to not have a car. Let's see. So this is a montage of you know, just some photos. I'm always interested in cycling. This was a little cargo thing. This was just all dinged up with lights and things. Here's, you know, I passed by PS 124 public school, right? 124. So, and then people make these their own. You know, like you paint it red, you know, and stuff like that. I mean, people are always wanting to make it their own. So here's a New York City water drinking sampling station. You know, you have these great old buildings. Again, this is probably Civil War era. A lot of murals. It's a city of art. Toledo has a lot of murals too, and I love them. But, and you know, not saying Toledo doesn't have them, but you know, here was a mural about water. You know, it's like water is the life, conserve and preserve it, and you know, city of New York stuff. So it's a very progressive city. It's very gay friendly. So you'll see the gay flag. I'm probably saying that wrong, but the flag, you know, the rainbow flag, a lot of places. And the subway is everywhere. So everybody that lives there and grows up there knows the subway infrastructure because that's how most people get around. So this particular one, you can see the little, you know, subway sign, and here's, you know, telling you where you are. You're at 4th Avenue, 9th Street in Brooklyn. There's also a 4th and 9th in Manhattan. So you got to know where you are. This one I just threw in here because that said Con Edison. I grew up listening to Johnny Carson, and he would always be like ragging on Con Edison. You know, I'm like, well, the reason it's Con Edison, Con stands for consolidating, because there was a time when Brooklyn had its own power company, Manhattan had its own power company. They merged in 1898, okay, the same year as the Spanish-American War. They create this thing that we now know as with the 5 boroughs of New York City. But that's why it's Con Edison, not that they're conning you, that's what they'll say. And then, I love these kind of Art Deco-y things, you know, like AD 1932. So that's the kind of thing I look for when I walk around. Just cool little tidbits of history. So again, a couple couple images here, but these wrought iron railings are everywhere, and they are, they're decorative and they're functional, and but this was a cool one here because I know you can't read that well, but it was a real estate company, and they were advertising which neighborhoods they served, right? So here we go, Coney Island, Fort Greene. Dumbo is my favorite one, is Dumbo, because that stands for Down Under the Manhattan Bridge Overpass. So you have the Brooklyn Bridge, and right next to it is this. Brooklyn Bridge is quaint and old and cute and lovely, and you just fall in love with it. And then right next to it is Manhattan Bridge, and that's the workhorse. That's what's really happening as far as transportation is going, right? And then the Manhattan Bridge, that's where Dumbo is. But it's like all these neighborhoods, Crown Heights, Park Slope, and in fact, that's where I was staying, is Park Slope. But it's just, it's a city of neighborhoods. And then this is, again, showing you can rent those city bikes everywhere. If you do go to New York, and if you do rent a city bike, join it and get the annual membership, because it's like 80 bucks or something for a year, because if you do it by the hour, you're going to get to $80 very quickly. So it's structured so that just get the membership. Fire station, you know, especially after 9/11, we were all aware of FD and Y, but the thing I want to point out on this one is BFD, because this was the Brooklyn Fire Department, right? So this building was made before 1898, when the consolidation happened, right? So you'll see a lot of that. It was the Brooklyn School District. And, you know, more people live in Brooklyn than live in Manhattan. And more people live in Queens than live in Brooklyn. Queens is really where the people are in New York City. About 2 million, at least 2 million in Queens. This is a little map just kind of showing you where I was. I started out, that's where I was staying. This is big Prospect Park. Prospect Park is designed by the same person that designed Central Park. And what he said was, his quote was, I want Central Park to be an urban park. You know you're in a city when you're in Central Park. He says, at Prospect Park, I want you to forget you're in a city. I want you to really feel like you're kind of just in the country or in a green space. So, anyway, so Brooklyn Fire Department, and that's where I am. So I'm walking from there, from near Prospect Park, I'm walking to the Brooklyn Bridge. So at the end of this slide, you'll see some Brooklyn Bridge. So that's what I'm doing. I'm walking through kind of, you know, a main part of old Brooklyn. You know, Stop Asian Hate, Black Lives Matter. It's a very progressive city, and it's a growing city. Okay, you'll see new construction. I'm not going to say everywhere, but a lot of places. You'll see new construction down here. You know, this was, and it's a city of entrepreneurs. Okay, from recent arrivals to longtime people that have grown up there. Everybody's selling something, right? And most of it's legal. But here, you know, this is your, you know, you get your morning brew, your double shot of espresso, and blah, blah, blah. And then here was a natural place, another subway entrance, and they do have graffiti. So, you know, it's not, you know, there is, I'm even interested in the graffiti. You know, what are they doing there that's maybe different than where I live? Again, a montage of things. This building here is clearly in distress. They put a fence around it. If something's going to happen there, here's going down to the subway. I was going along Atlantic Avenue. But these old buildings, you know, I'm just enthralled with them. And then as you're walking along downtown Brooklyn, they'll have these great maps so you can see where you are. So that's very, very nice. Again, another montage. You know, fresh halal meat. You know, that's meat that's okay for if you're Muslim, right? And the Central Palace, these, you know, natural food store. There's a New York City police car. This really beautiful dress store. And this is like, I know you can't read this, but it's like free in-person English classes. So that's a real common thing that you'll see oftentimes in New York City is, hey, we want to help you with your immigration, right? We want to help you learn English. We want to help you, register to vote. All the things. So, there's a lot of immigrants coming into New York City all the time. This was just this was right after I was going to be there, but a big festival, big street festival, and here it is, Brooklyn's oldest and largest street festival, rain or shine. And Atlantic Avenue is one of the real main commercial corridors. So here's another, I couldn't tell if it was being built or renovated. This one, I like it, says, "This store is not empty; it's full of potential." So it's empty, but it's full of potential. And then this, I just thought that was a great paint job on that. This was an old Jewish temple, and there's a lot of Jewish infrastructure in Brooklyn. You can see the Star of David there. Right up here it says 1917, so World War I era. And I peeked into it. There was a big fence here, but you would go down to like the basement, I guess. But just the brickwork is just so gorgeous, And I'm thinking, man, this is over 100 years old, So it was. And now I'm walking up to this kind of central promenade, this green space here that leads into the bridge. And New York City is also a city of statues and statuary, if you will. This one here was Christopher Columbus. This one here was for a prominent Henry Ward Beecher, who was a prominent abolitionist before the Civil War. And you can't really see it well, but these are African American children that are like, thank you, thanking him, in statue form. I'm a cyclist too, so it is a big bike store. But let's see. And then I found this one, and I realized we don't have a lot of statues to African Americans in this country, and even in New York City, but here was one. And this was for the notorious Big. Now, I don't expect you to know who based on the demographics of this group, including me, I don't expect you to know, but he's a prominent rap star. And I think he died, and this was a really cool thing because it plays music as well. It plays his music. But I was just intrigued with it because I'm thinking, how many statues have I seen of African Americans? Maybe a handful, but not many. Maybe your George Washington Carvers and those kind of people. But so anyway, it was kind of nice. So here was the United States Courthouse, and lots of pigeons in New York City, just what it is, And then these two on the flanks here were from a World War II memorial, big thing. And I just was taken back by these two statues. Here's the female, the woman with the child, and then the guy, with the sword that's kind of put away. But if you think about the trauma that the world went through with World War II, you see the look on their faces. These are not smiling faces. These are like, dude, these are like, wow. Anyway, I'm enthralled with the architecture, and so I thought this was cool. We're getting close to the bridge now. This says, "Welcome to Brooklyn," for the people coming across the... So here it is. There's the Brooklyn Bridge, the first glimpse of it. It was built by James Roebling, then he dies, and his wife and son finish it. So if you want to see a Roebling Bridge, go to Cincinnati. And then right in the downtown, that was his prototype for this one. He built the Cincinnati Bridge. I mean, I'm really condensing things, okay? But in a nutshell, he built the Cincinnati Bridge to see how he could do this bridge. And then this was built after the Civil War, finished around 1885 to 90. People put their locks on it. That's the thing. I don't know why they do it, but they do it. This is basically saying all the things you're not supposed to do, but it's just it's a people magnet, and it's an international thing. You're going to hear a lot of different languages on the Brooklyn Bridge. It's one of the top 10 things you do in New York City is walk the Brooklyn Bridge. How many people have walked the Brooklyn Bridge? right? So a few hands. So the rest of you, come on, get on it. It's really fun. It's free. It's a bridge that takes you from Manhattan to Brooklyn and back again. And there's lots of vendors. They'll sell you everything. So there it is. I mean, that's kind of. There's 2 arches like that, and it was in here. Here's some locks. These locks. It drives the engineers. It drives the civil engineers nuts because you think, oh, it's a lock, but the weight adds up. And these bridges do have weight limits and so forth. The stress is on on it and stuff. So, but people do it. I think it's a way to show love or something. It's kind of not my generation. I don't quite get it, but that's all right. But here's a classic scene. People are. So these are 4 shots. On top of everything, try to look at this one on your side. It is a massive, massive structure. So there, I'm looking up. And again, this thing is, what, 150 years old or something? And it's just, and here's another one, just looking up. It's something. They put these there so you can't climb up the tower and jump off. I'm sure they have people that do that anyway, but every bridge does. So the Brooklyn Bridge, the largest suspension bridge in the world at the time it was built. So 67 to 83. They worked on this for about 20 years. Anyway, a milestone in the history of American engineering. So this is a classic Brooklyn Bridge scene here. And then this one here says, "Welcome to Manhattan." That's me. That's what everybody does. Get your selfie with the bridge. And this is, again, looking up at it. But I just want to point out here, now that's on a road that's down below, but it says, Mayor Eric Adams and Borough President, I can't write it, Mark Lemon or something. So, they want you to know who the borough president, 5 boroughs in New York City. So that was my Brooklyn adventure. Any questions on that? So the same day, the next part is just a continuation of this one. I'm in Manhattan, so I walk down along the East River, 2 rivers that define Manhattan, the Hudson and the East, right? And they're coming down and they meet, and that's kind of where like the World Trade Center was and stuff like that, Battery Park and all that, right? At the bottom. So I walk down, but there's this stepchild borough, Staten Island. Everybody knows Manhattan. Most people know Brooklyn. The Yankees are up in the Bronx. Everybody knows the King of Queens. That's where JFK is. But what's this other one? And I realized last September that I really didn't have any history or knowledge really of Staten Island. I'm like, damn it, I'm going to go check it out. So that's what this is about. So there is a ferry that goes there. It's called the Staten Island Ferry, and it's free. Now, how many things in New York City are free? This one's free. It's actually a wonderful side. It's a wonderful side thing to do. If you're ever there, especially if you're in Lower Manhattan, you want to just take a little holiday or something like that. So you get a terminal. You go inside. You're waiting for the thing. Here's the schedule. They run them very quickly, very frequently, right? Both ways. Staten Island Ferry is free of charge. Then you get on it, and you're just out. You're out in the harbor. So, and we're getting on the boat there. And so this is a good map of where I am right now is here. This is, that's the Hudson coming down. That's the East coming down. Brooklyn Bridge is like right here. Now I'm going to take this past the Statue of Liberty, by the way, and down to St. George, which is this is Staten Island. One of the really notable things about Staten Island too is that it has the Verrazano Narrows Bridge, and that's this bridge right here, and it is massive. It is I mean, you look at this thing and you're like, my God, can they really build a bridge that big? And they did, and I think I have one picture of it in here. So that's the geography of it. So this is. And the other interesting thing is this is all Jersey here. And then just Jersey down here. But New York State fought for Staten Island. You know, when they were deciding the boundaries, you know, and it's funny, even to this day, there's kind of this tension between New York and New Jersey, you know, about borders and stuff. Like, most New Yorkers kind of hate it that, you know, like the Statue of Liberty is really in New Jersey. And Ellis Island, you know, it's really in New Jersey. So there's this kind of friendly tension. So we're getting on the ferry, and you get this lovely view of not Midtown, but of Lower Manhattan, right? So this is the new replacement, I hate to say that, but this is the new, what they call Freedom Tower. Right? And then it has a real name too. That's what most people call it. And that's the one where the Twin Towers was. And most of you, who's been to the Twin Towers Memorial? Right, with the fountains and everything, it's very, very tastefully done. Very emotional, actually. This is what they built kind of to replace it. It is 1,776 feet tall. You know, for that, anything. Anyway, so a great view of the Lower Manhattan. Another ferry coming back. So there's, you know, they're always running them back. This is kind of what inside looks like. And the best way to see the Statue of Liberty and free is on the Staten Island Ferry. So here it is. We're going by the Statue of Liberty. And actually, it's the smart way to see the Statue of Liberty because you have to tie up 3 and 4 hours going through security, and it's just a mess. I shouldn't say that. It's not a mess, but it's time consuming. Okay, this is like, man, you get a great view of it, and you're on your way to the Staten Island. So another ferry coming back. Oh, that circle line, that's probably a tour route. And this is a little, now there's, look at the Verrazano Narrows Bridge. Oh my God, can you even believe how big that thing is? Maybe you can't, maybe, I don't know if this picture does justice to it. But the other thing here is there's a lot of shipping in and out of New York and New Jersey Harbor. A lot of container ships, kind of almost constantly going. Here's Staten Island, so we're gonna dock here, it's called St. George. And then there's this really cute railroad, the Staten Island Railway, that goes down to Tottenville. Sorry, that T is cut off there, but it's Tottenville. And that's where I'm eventually going to end up on this tour. So, to Sir with Love, Sir is the Staten Island Railway. You go down, I'm behind this lady, it's a railroad. The interesting thing too is that they don't charge you when you go south. They only charge you when you come north. So I think a lot of people are riding this railroad for free every day, but it's their deal, you know. At any rate, welcome to Staten Island. So I'm now getting on the train, and you know they have their own engines. See, there's no subways on Staten Island. Okay, they never invested in that infrastructure, and really, Staten Island is kind of like a bedroom community. It's kind of like suburbia, right? And so they don't have subways like the other boroughs do. So what they did was they made the ferry free, right? And then they built this lovely little railroad. I feel like I'm on Thomas the Tank, and it's just cuter than hell. It's like a little, and there's probably about 20 stops, you know, and school kids are coming and getting off, and people are going shopping and coming home from work, and I mean, it's really nice. So this was one of the stops to Tottenville. I mean, Tottenville? Are you kidding me? What kind of movie is this? But it's the name of the terminus town, you know. And this is just a scene on the railway, you know, young people, old people. And you know, it's like kind of suburbia, you know. It's like, you know, there's the bus taking kids home. And, you know, then I got off. I got down to Tottenville, and I got off of the Staten Island Railway. This guy was doing something with the train, and I start walking around. And, you know, you're reminded that you're still in New York City, because you can kind of forget you're still in New York City, right? Because this is not Manhattan. This is like Sylvania or something, you know? These wonderful old houses. And Arthur Kill. A kill is a body of water that connects two bodies of water. So you got something here, and the thing that connects them is a kill. It's an old English term. But that was Arthur Kill, is the one right by there. And I've never been here before. I'm in southern Staten Island, and this is what I like to do. I just like to just nose around and see what it is. And to me, that's an adventure. That's not, and not everybody would be comfortable with that. But and you can kind of see where I am. You know, I got off the train. And I'm walking around in these old buildings. I didn't want to do that. You want to go back? Yeah. These old buildings, and I find this, and something burned down in '63, and I find this park. Oh, that was an herb garden, and I found this little park, and I went there. Oh my God! I look across, and that's like Perth Amboy, New Jersey, so it's really gorgeous. And there's a lot of boating here too. You know, people have boats, just like around here. Wrap it up. Okay. So this, I found. I'm going to make it quick. This place here is very historic. This is part of our history. Okay, not just New York history, but your history and my history, because in this house on September 11th, 1776, after the Battle of Long Island, a peace conference was held between Lord Howe and our Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, later to be president, and Edward Rutledge. Now, it was unsuccessful. They didn't stop the war, but they met here. And this house has been preserved. So that was pretty cool. I kept walking, and I found this great beach, and I'm thinking, I'm in New York City. Here's a really nice-looking beach. That surprised me. I wasn't prepared for that. And a lot of... so New York City has lots of beaches. That's where I am now. So I'm looking out at New Jersey. New Jersey, a lot of shipping coming by me. Saw this really cool butterfly. So that's there's a nice beach scene. There's a cargo ship going. And then I was done with my beach part. I got to get back on my train. I got to get back. So you're reminded again, you're in New York City. I could have taken the bus, but I wanted to take the train. So I get on the train. This was Tottenville September 11th Memorial Clock, dedicated to the Tottenville residents who died at the World Trade Center, September 11, 2001. Every single neighborhood in New York City lost people in 9/11. And this was the memorial to their people. Everybody, thousands of people worked in the Trade Center, right? So now I'm going back home. The sky's starting to get cool. It's starting to get cool. I look down at my phone. I've got like 6% left. I'm like, damn it! I made a critical error as a traveler, which I will never do again, and I had failed to bring a backup battery. But I'm getting close to the end. There's some things at the station about the history of Staten Island. This is a great map. That's the train line there. And I walked basically from here all the way around and then back. And then, I just love that with the two tugs. And the sky's getting cooler, and I'm like, oh my God, this is just one of the coolest skies I've seen in a long time. And I'm thinking, I'm coming up to, that thing. I wonder if I can, and I'm down to like 3% now. I mean, this is real drama here. I mean, and I'm just that sky. You don't see that every day. And I got it. Oh my God. Actually, this is my favorite. And there she is. You know what I mean? There she is. God bless her. So that's my program for today.